Baby, make like I do with the punches and roll me home. Oh, you can leave your cross.
Time for another episode of Toking with Topher, Scotty, Gertken, and I. Got some very special guests today. I'm really excited about this. I knew he's been coming now for a couple weeks, and I've been excited about it.
It's here.
I know, and it's finally here.
Excited. Just so you know, he's very excited.
Yeah, our special guest today is Adolphus Busch, and he is he's the head guy over there at Teal Cannabis.
The man.
Yeah, he's the man.
The myth, the legend.
So we're going to have a lot of questions for him today and talk about some products that he's brought with us, some cool gadgets and things that are going on with Teal. I'm excited to get into this because this guy's story is incredible. I started looking up some information about him, and welcome aboard. Welcome aboard, Adolphus. I'm glad you're here. Today's pre-roll is, we're going to do Vibe Cannabis. We talked about Vibe Cannabis last week.
Yeah.
So this is actually a pretty good deal. This is a 5-pack pre-roll, and it's 5 grams in weight. So each one of these is 1 gram. So
nice.
for heavy smokers like me,
they're not dog walkers. They're 1
correct.
gram.
Yeah, they're not the 1.25s. They're not the quarter gram. So I got these.
That's where I messed up. I was trying to open it from the side. Instead of long
I got
way.
these. So we all have one. So I'll give this one. Give that one over to Adolphus, and
Well,
we
he's trying not to smoke. He's got
yeah,
the
well,
fruit.
if he feels like it, he'll
Yeah,
let it.
yeah.
You know, he's on his thing over there.
Peer pressure already.
We're gonna, yeah, I know. He just start throwing weed at people when they come in. Of all people, he's got more weed than both of us have ever smoked, sitting probably in his basement right now. So I'm gonna light this up, and we're gonna see what this tastes like. I don't know the last one we had. I thought was kind of harsh. I did a lot of coughing on that one.
Yeah. What was
It was
that?
a citrus hick.
Yeah, that's what it was. Citrus hick. I got to try that lilac diesel I got.
Yeah, that lilac diesel. Yeah, so it was a pretty good deal. This Vibe Cannabis, check it out. I mean, I smoked one of these earlier. This is Juggernaut.
Of course you did.
It's Juggernaut. It's 22. Well, it's actually got 1.35% terpenes, which is a little low on the terpene side. I like a little higher terpene count. THCA is 2121. And so you're burning probably about, maybe about 18% on that.
What are the
THC.
terpenes in there? Does it have it on there?
I don't see it. I can't see. You know us. We're blind. We're fucking like
that's
this
fine.
go. Sour diesel mixed with GMO hybrid. It's a
Okay.
hybrid with GMO. So
Right
good
on.
job. Hybrid. So check it out. Adolphus Busch. So man, what an incredible story. You come from St. Louis royalty basically, and you went to college in Colorado. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yep.
Yeah. I read some stuff about you. You went to college in Colorado, and you started there, right? Didn't you? I mean, a lot of people don't know this. I don't think that Teal was actually started in Colorado. Is that correct?
Well, I guess thinking about starting my own business in the cannabis industry was definitely started in Colorado.
Okay.
Moved out there in 2009 and went to Colorado State in Fort Collins, Colorado.
Oh, nice.
Spent 4.5 years in Fort Collins. and
Beautiful out there, isn't it?
It is. It's
I don't know why you came back.
Kidding.
I mean, it's hard.
kidding.
I really miss the mountains. I miss the rivers.
Yeah.
Two of the things that I miss the most. Fort Collins is great. Definitely miss Denver as well.
Yeah.
Lived in Denver for about 7.5 years after Fort Collins.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Cool. So you're recently back here then?
That's
for the
correct,
most
yeah.
part. So when did you move back to St. Louis from Colorado?
I remember the exact date. It was April 11th, I believe, of 2020.
Nice.
Wow. Okay.
So you've only been
So,
back for about a
about-
little over 3 years.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was about, I want to
Did
say
you come back
exactly-
because of COVID
well, no,
and all that
so
going on?
I didn't. I actually came back because we were awarded our manufacturing licenses
Oh.
in January of 2020, so I had to move back. It was about exactly a month after COVID started, though.
Yeah.
So I think Denver shut down. It's weird how I remember this. So, when something like that happens, I feel like you remember it
Oh, yeah.
so well.
Yeah.
They shut down the city in Denver, I think, on March 13th. And we were out on March 12th. It was kind of our last night, so we went to dinner and went out for a little bit. And then
Yeah.
they shut the city down on March 13th. So I had just about a month, not stuck in my apartment, but to where no one could go out to restaurants. And
Yeah.
we we spent the last month the way we should have anyways. I mean, we were up in the mountains a lot, doing a lot of fishing, doing a lot of whatever we could up in the mountains.
Yeah.
During April. But
And it's still
yeah, that was
fairly
my-
chilly in the mountains in April there, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah,
It
I mean,
is.
it's
On
not
certain
warm.
days. No, definitely not.
Right.
Definitely not at night either. So,
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So you're a fisherman too?
I am.
Hunter? Do you hunt?
I do.
Wow,
Yes.
I do too.
See?
Yeah,
There you go.
that's great.
Yeah.
I got, I actually hunt. I got 100 acres up in Warrenton.
Oh, awesome.
It
Okay.
butts up to Reef Snyder's.
Yeah.
So I love hunting there
Well,
every year.
when
Just go up
we
there, boop.
when we start talking about teal, I've got, I don't know if you know the background story of teal.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, great.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think
cool.
I like that, yeah.
Yeah. So you came back. So 2020, you came in. You came back
correct.
to St. Louis. Wow,
Yep.
for the manufacturing list. I guess sitting in Colorado was a no-brainer once this started going. Like, I'm heading to Missouri. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
A
You
fresh
know,
market. I mean,
Exactly.
and especially knowing what you knew in Colorado because it was legal at that time there. So
Right.
Yep.
But that's very cool. All right, so take
Yeah.
us from. So you were at college. You started a business in Colorado though with marijuana.
I did.
Okay, so
correct.
what was that?
Yep, so that's called ABV Cannabis Co. We operated in Colorado from about 2018 to, I guess, 2021.
Wow.
18, 19, 20, and 21, correct. So I brought ABV back to, well, let's see. No, until 2022. So we brought ABV back, I think, October of 2022. And by that, I mean brought all of our remaining packaging back, brought some of the equipment back, and shut down operations out in Colorado.
I was gonna say you shut down out there, so you're
I
not.
did.
Okay.
I did. So it was a one-man team. It was me.
Really?
That's-
Oh my
that's-
god.
Monster.
Yeah.
Yeah, just in terms of not manufacturing the product, but it was through a co-packaging deal. It was a licensing deal through a company that I worked for after I was working for Keef Cola. I went up to Salida, Colorado, and still lived in Denver, was feet on the ground in Denver, but worked for a company called Pure Greens up in Salida, Colorado.
Okay.
They
Cool.
were a vertically integrated company, greenhouse cultivation, manufacturing in Salida, and then they owned, at the time, I think 3 dispensaries. Now I believe it's up to about 10. So
Wow.
they agreed to help me launch a brand out there through their infrastructure. So I created the brand, I was essentially a marketing company, and put together my products out there and put together the SOPs, and they were able to manufacture them for me and help me distribute
Outstanding,
them
yeah.
throughout the state. Yep.
That's great.
Have you ever had to punch somebody for asking what ABV means?
Yeah.
Like, bro, that's my
Get ready.
name.
Yeah.
Get 'em.
Well, so there was a couple. Obviously, ABV is alcohol by volume, and that kind of plays into my family's background and the industry that they were in before cannabis.
Right.
But now, I mean, for me, it was my initials. It's Adolphus Busch V. We are doing a rebranding on that brand, which I'm not going to mention the name quite yet because that's coming up probably in, I would say, 6 months to 8 months is when the new packaging is going to drop, and we're going to do the official rebrand.
Nice.
We're actually going to be positioning Teal to be our more premium brand, which it already is.
Yeah.
And then have our new brand, which is ABV, going to be rebranded as more of our cost-conscious brand, not a less premium brand. You know, for example, we're still using whole flower in each pre-roll, just like we do for Teal.
Yep.
But we may be, for example, like the flower in this pack of ABVs right now is from Robust, and it's greenhouse grown. We actually have greenhouse grown on our packaging, so we stay true to that, and we put greenhouse grown flower, which typically may have a little bit less of a, you know, the price point per pound may be a little bit lower. Still going to get a very premium quality, might not test quite as high. Terpene production with the natural sunlight is going to be fantastic.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's still going to be a great product, just a little bit more affordable for the consumer.
That's nice.
And that's very important. I mean, when we start talking demographics, you know, because we talk about
you just said it about these. That
Yeah.
They were very affordable.
Yeah, the
Right.
older, you know, you got an older crowd that goes into dispensaries. The younger people tend to still stick to legacy markets for the most part, and that's kind of the demographic you want to go after in a way. And the only way you're going to do is bring your price point down. You know, so having things like that, and I think Culture Collective is what the Sense Cannabis has too. So I think making those brands affordable for those markets is great because
Can I see that box there? Do you mind?
Yeah, absolutely. And we did just recently change the packaging. So that was the packaging. We, of course, had to make it compliant with a label on the back for Missouri current rules and regulations under the emergency rules. That is compliant in the state of Missouri right now with the new rules coming out. Obviously, everyone's having to change packaging right now. But we did intermediary packaging. We have new packaging currently, one one size box for the 3-pack of half grams, and then one size box for the 7-pack of half grams.
So would this not be compliant by the new?
That would not be compliant by the new rules and regs that go into place July 30th, but we're still waiting to hear from the state as to when they're going to strictly enforce that at the dispensary level, because they have to understand.
You want to see them?
Yeah, let me see that.
Sorry.
They have to understand right now that some people may have 2 years worth of packaging.
Right.
Some people, may have a year's worth, and it takes time to sell through packaging. We can do as much as we can by putting some labels on there to make it compliant with the new rules and regs, but it takes time, and you can't make businesses waste that much money.
Right.
One, it's a huge amount of waste, which no one in this industry likes. Most people who consume cannabis do not like wasting things.
Yeah.
And it's not a good business practice to ever, it'll put some businesses out of business.
Yeah.
We were at MoCan last week.
Yep.
And we were there for the panel, and they were talking about all the labeling and stuff and the laws. And that was the first thing that we started talking about after the one seminar was done. We're outside. We're like, what about all these people that have all this packaging, like ready to package as they go through, as they sell and they package more? Because you have to buy a minimum quantity of your packaging to get costs down and keep it affordable. And then, like, they can't just expect those people to throw that away.
I know.
Exactly.
That's like, that just blew my mind.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny right now too, because they came out with the proposed rules that we're all looking at right now that are going to go into effect on July 30th on May 15th. But, there was no guidance to clear up certain things under, for example, like the packaging and labeling section of the rules and regulations. So no one could really make money and spend all that money on redesigning every single dye line and ordering new packaging before we got more guidance as to, how long are we going to have to get through our old packaging?
Yeah.
What does this, and this mean? Because in the rules, there's a lot of uncertainties right now. You can interpret the rules differently depending on how you read them and who you are and how you operate your business. So there needed to be clarification, and there was no way until they came out with the most recent guidance that people could even really jump into that project. And what they probably don't understand as well is when you're changing that many dye lines, we probably have 30 or 40 SKUs. Big cultivators may have up to 300 SKUs.
Yeah.
When you're changing that many dye lines, one, it could cost you $250,000 if you're using a third-party marketing firm.
Right.
And two, that's hours and hours and hours of graphic design work because there's so many layers in those different dye lines that people don't know about that it costs so much money, and it takes so many months to do that many SKUs, not days. That takes months if you have that many SKUs.
Right.
Our marketing company would take them, 2 months at least to do all 40 of our SKUs.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a daunting project, and I don't think they understand what it takes.
And how do you even do strategic planning when you have, this surprise, I'm like, hey, we just had a 4-year plan on our marketing, or whatever. Yeah. And we now got hit with, we got to change everything and figure this out. It's kind of a pain in the ass. I mean, you can't run a business that way for sure.
No.
So.
And we recently, just one more thing, I guess, on that topic is, we are in the process of ordering a lot of stuff, or we have been over the past, I would say, month before they sent out that guidance. And I've had to adjust. I do the procurement of our cannabis material, but then also all of our packaging and hardware. And we had to shift gears and be like, okay, we don't have a clear understanding from the state as to how long we'll have to sell through all the packaging we currently have on site. And if we're getting low on anything before that guidance comes out, we can't create new packaging, and maybe we don't even have the time to create new packaging yet before we run out of some of this other stuff. So we have to get it ordered. Of course, I've had to shrink our order sizes to go basically on a monthly or quarterly basis right now.
Yeah.
As opposed to a yearly basis. So we have to purchase stuff at a higher price because it's a lower quantity.
Exactly.
And then we have to guess as to when they're going to give
based
us.
on your projected sales too. Like,
it's tough, very tough.
I don't even know how people are maneuvering it. I mean, and then like you're talking about people with 300 SKUs. Like, how do you even? It almost seems impossible.
Yeah.
Like it almost seems unattainable
without
to
losing
be
money,
compliant.
Wow.
Right. It's crazy.
Well, I've smoked some of this pre-roll now. Now I kind of got a dry throat. Now I want to talk about this stuff that he brought, these Stiribles. This is the water soluble that you brought, and we're going to try some of this, and you're going to show us how you do it here. Now, talk about this, because this is, I don't think this is, nobody else has this.
No.
Yep.
This is you, right? That's it.
Yep, that's correct. Right
Yeah.
now, it is just us in the market with this product. I've always wanted to launch a product like this. I used to buy a lot of Ripple out in Colorado, so I started working for, right out of college, started working for BioTrack THC. So I wasn't in the product side of the industry yet. I was a bud tender for about a year after that at a dispensary chain called Lightshade.
This guy's,
And then,
That's awesome, right?
and then I started working for Keef Cola. When I was a bud tender at Lightshade, I always enjoyed selling, the drinks in the market at that time, and that was something that you got to see really progress throughout the years. Obviously, every product category progressed crazy, in terms of just new equipment, new technology, better quality products. But drinks were interesting. Like when I first started buying drinks out there, they came in glass bottles. It didn't have to be opaque. Everything was sitting at the bottom of the glass,
Right.
glass jar
right.
or bottle, just because everything's separated. No one was doing true emulsification at that time.
Gotcha.
And then I worked for Keef Cola for 3 years, just as a sales rep for a year and a half, and then as a sales manager for a year and a half after that. And understanding the emulsification process and drinks and kind of the future of drinks, and then understanding a little bit more about Ripple. I've never worked for Ripple or Stillwater, but great product. It moved very well in the Colorado market. And we wanted to create something similar, but, a little bit different and unique as well. And
Yeah, because I will say I love Keef Cola. Keef, when I first went out to Colorado, I was shocked when I first had it. It was like years ago, and I got it, and I remember pouring it out in a glass because I wanted to see what a drink, a THC infused drink actually looked like. I was shocked. It was like it was clear. It wasn't. It was like kind of pink. It was a strawberry, but to be water soluble. I mean, how do they do this? This is incredible.
I've actually done a lot of research myself
on the water solubles.
On the water soluble, absolutely. And the emulsification process is just fascinating. Just for the sheer fact of just the use of the end product.
it is.
I mean, you can use it for anything.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
crazy.
Yeah, which is great about this specific product too. I think, and Keef Cola is a fantastic brand, one of my favorite brands, and just those guys over there are just some of the coolest guys, the people who started it, the founding guys, and it's a cool story too, going back to 2009 or 10, making it in their garage out of Boulder. And then
I believe it.
Yeah,
were they emulsifying at that point? And
not in the beginning. When it was in glass bottles, I don't think it was essentially just a mixing process similar.
Like, how did they get to that point to figure that out?
Yeah, I mean, probably before I started working for them, they started emulsifying everything and putting it in aluminum bottles or cans. What did we use? We actually used glass for a while when I first started working for them, but they had already started emulsifying back then. I think it was, vibration. It was sonic waves to a certain extent that they were using, ultrasonic waves to break, to emulsify.
That's nuts.
But it was definitely not the technology that we use today in our facility.
Right.
So that's for sure. It's come a long way.
Probably one of those Amazon ones that I looked at for like $300.
Yeah.
That just kind of, you don't know if it's got the right kilohertz on it and everything. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, seriously, I've like looked at all this stuff. I'm like, there's no way this is going to be strong enough to do what we need to do. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, and it's just a great product. It comes obviously in this child-resistant pouch, and our plan is right now. It's a 50 milligram bag, and there's 10 5 milligram packets that come in each bag. So it's a 50 milligram packet as opposed to a 100 milligram pack. And we want to get it up to 100. Right now we are filling by hand essentially. So we're using tabletop depositors that come from Singapore, a manufacturer in Singapore, and they deposit the small amount, 500 milligrams of powder into these little packets.
Which is like nothing.
Which is nothing. So it's 1% active. It's 5 milligrams of THC and 500 milligrams of powder. So it's a very small, amount of powder.
Yeah.
Very hard to get precise dosing down at 500 milligrams of powder.
Right.
So we're looking for a fully automated stick pack filling machine that will make these packets. So I call this the pouch. And then I call these, the packets on the inside. Mm-hmm. And to make these a little bit smaller, more kind of skinny and longer, if that makes sense. And that's the ideal, and then eventually take them to the same, I guess, milligram dosage as our gummies, to where we have 100 milligram packs, 20 of these packets in each pouch, and then also do a high potency as well. And we'll do ratios and all of that. But
okay, so let me ask you this. So the Stiribles, can you do the same thing you can do with edibles with it, with adding like CBDs and adding different components to it, like you do with
because it
that?
just basically be an isolate, but
Yeah.
then turned into a water soluble.
We could use a distillate or an isolate.
Okay.
Either way, we're mixing it into the solution the exact same way we would mix in a distillate.
Wow.
It's going through essentially the same process.
Those would be good for
The ultrasonic,
yeah.
and there's a fluid that goes with that breaks it up, right? That's the mixing.
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly. So, and it's
trying
all.
to see if I remember all this.
There's
shit or
no
not.
sugar in it. It's all clean ingredients.
Yeah.
And it is, there's a carrying agent, and it's just a water soluble carrying agent
Right.
that is natural, and it's not, it's a clean ingredient to use.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And honestly, those little 5 milligrams, or if you had a 5 milligram, or 10, even a little 10 milligram. For me, I think about those hangovers. When you have a hangover. When I have a hangover, I smoke a lot of weed, and it makes me hungry, and I eat, and then I'm better. Well, fuck, I'd do those. I'd grab a pack of those. I'm like hangover recovery, a little 5 milligrams to kind of keep me from puking all over the place and clear my head a little bit and be perfect. Throw it in my coffee.
That'd be the exact opposite of what I would do if I was hungover. Just
throw it in my
bed
coffee.
and just sulk. And
Oh no, man!
This is miserable.
I can't. I got stuff I gotta do. Sometimes I drink like on a Wednesday night, and you got to do shit on Thursday morning,
Yeah,
and you're like, "Fuck, I gotta get up. I can't be screwing around." It sucks. That's why I don't drink a lot. But if I do,
I'm right
I
there
drink a
with you.
lot.
Exactly. It's one or the other.
Yeah, it's one or the other. I can't.
I
I'm a bourbon guy.
I don't just drink 2 beers to drink 2 beers.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm drinking, I'm gonna.
I'm a bourbon guy, so I'm freaking drinking a lot of bourbon. If I start drinking, so. But
do you like bourbon?
Anyway,
Are you a beer
I
guy
do.
or a bourbon guy?
I actually have become more of I can drink 2 beers or 2 whiskeys, but if it's good whiskey or if it's good craft beer, not to say I won't drink, a Busch Light or a Budweiser.
Yeah.
And I do love it. It's just if I sit down to drink a beer right now, and I know I'm only drinking 1 or 2 beers, my favorite type of beer right now is brown ales. Actually.
Okay.
So
Okay.
hopefully in the long future, I may come out with start hopefully a little craft brewery and
there you go.
just make browns.
Yeah, just
There you
make
go.
browns.
Yeah,
That'd
exactly.
be cool. Be easy. Yeah,
Just make browns.
Like a pet project. Just a little pet project.
In my
that's cool.
garage at first.
Yeah.
Hey man, wherever it works.
From humble beginnings. Adolphus Busch V.
Starts in his garage.
Yeah.
I imagine you know how to do it.
Yeah. He could have started anywhere else, but he decided to do it in his garage.
Yeah. Well, it's funny.
That's
a lot
funny.
of people think I, worked for the company, and it was sold when I was in high school. So
Yeah, so
it was
you never worked for
2008,
them.
Yeah.
No.
And I did. My dad owns a little part of about 50% of a small microbrewery in McCall, Idaho.
Oh,
wow.
That's cool.
It's called Salmon River Brewery, and it's a great spot. Some of the best microbrews, in my opinion, in the country.
Yeah.
Oh wow, okay.
And it's it's just a fantastic spot.
Yeah.
It's
Well, how
highly-
awesome is that? Like his ancestors, brought the beer into the world, right? And now
it's gotta be
he's
killer.
bringing like the cannabis,
Yeah,
another
the
Busch,
next-
bringing the cannabis into
Kind of
St. Louis.
the next wave of that's really cool.
It's going to be Teal Stadium just
Teal
before long. Like, hey
All the
guys,
players will be high.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll be playing hacky
Hey,
sack.
no, man, they got
Teal
CBD
products,
topicals they can use,
Exactly,
some
yeah.
muscle creams. Yeah, we'll get them we'll get something for them. Yeah, we'll market it to them.
Exactly.
That's
exactly.
awesome.
So that's cool. So how does this work? So you you put the packet in.
So yeah, I mean it's just a packet like you would rip open a packet of stevia or of sugar and just dump it straight into your beverage.
And that's weed. There it is, guys.
THC in a powder.
And you could technically, I mean, if you wanted to, if you're a freak, you could snort it and it would probably be psychoactive. You could.
Let's not give them any ideas.
No, I'm
I've
just
actually-
saying. I mean,
I've
it's
actually
water
had-
soluble.
I've had some funny, so I answer all of our website emails right now too. And
You're a busy guy.
I've had some interesting
He's a one-man show.
questions about it. Just like
Is that one of them?
not if you can snort it, but we've had some feedback. Hey, this is a white powder. Can you change the color of the powder so it doesn't if someone had a problem with that
Right.
type of substance in
Gotcha.
the past.
Right.
Can you
Oh,
change
yeah,
that?
yeah.
Can you make it look a little bit different so it doesn't, I
Resemble
guess-
cocaine. Yeah.
but, I mean, you could say that about sugar or salt. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
you know it's weed.
Yeah.
You know it's
Yeah.
like
You
it's-
know what it is.
It's clearly labeled.
So
Right.
I think I'm gonna send him an anonymous email soon. I'm gonna snort it. I'm gonna, yeah, man. If you could like,
I can't feel my face.
my face got numb.
That's pretty
terrible.
funny. So yeah, you pour it into what we recommend if you're making like a cannabis cocktail.
Yeah.
We recommend essentially if you're using like a base layer, something like a sparkling water, mix
Okay.
it with the sparkling water without ice first, because any powder, like you guys know, if you mix it with like Crystal Light, anything like that, it'll clump up a little bit when you put it
it's cold.
on ice.
Yeah.
Like if it's being dumped on top of ice, it'll make it harden or clump
Yeah.
up a little bit.
Gotcha.
So mixing it into the base mixture first, and then adding your ice and any other ingredients that you want to add works amazing.
Okay.
So,
What does it taste like?
so it actually, with,
Sparkling water.
with any sort of flavor, it honestly doesn't taste.
You probably don't taste it
anything.
at all.
With
Wow.
water, you can still hardly taste it. The
Yeah.
reason being is because it's 1% active.
Wow.
So you're talking about 500 milligrams of powder, but 5 milligrams of THC. So 1% active. There's
that's true.
hardly any flavor.
Okay.
With the 25 milligram packs that we come out with in the future, you'll be able to taste a little bit more of that cannabinoid
Yeah.
bitterness. But
When you guys are trying to make that high dose stuff, think of guys like me out here. You know,
I will,
like,
for
hey,
sure,
man,
yeah.
we're not. We don't want it just to be cool. We want it because we need it.
yeah,
we need 200 milligram packets.
I already said if I took this to the bar, I'd have to take the whole thing and have a pack of little packages sitting on my table by the end of the night.
Yeah.
So,
And you have to drink the whole drink to get the 5 milligrams.
I'd be peeing.
Yeah, like,
I'd be
well,
peeing
someone
every
might
4
be like,
minutes.
well, I'm just taking a sip and I'm getting, no, you got to drink the whole thing.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not 5 milligrams a sip. Like, drink the glass.
Well, so what we do is we just start mixing them into shot glasses. And just
Yeah.
a
little fireball.
just have a little fun with it. You know.
Now,
Do you
will
want-
it dissolve in
do you want lemon
fireball?
lime?
I'll try that one.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. We could just
That
start
mixed pretty
shots.
well. Like,
Yeah,
just
so
pouring it in there.
You give it a little bit of a stir, and it's pretty much fully mixed in at that
Here's
point.
the stir we were able to acquire.
Yes.
You want me to do it?
That's pretty fancy. We did get the fancy one out for this one.
Look at that. Oh,
he's
that's
good. Look at
job.
it. He's got that.
Adolphus
He's got that.
got this.
He's got
Done
that.
it a few times. Yeah.
He's got that.
Agitate that
That
stuff.
bush hand going. Look at that.
The fine crafting.
Right. Fine crafting. That's where it all started, guys.
I like it.
That's great.
He's probably like, you fucking asshole.
No, he did a good job.
I
It
love
looks.
it. I've been through my fair share of jokes.
Oh,
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Jesus.
My last name's Gertken. I mean, come on. Do the math.
Yeah, right. Do the math.
Yeah, I could see us putting these in shots at the club.
Yep.
You know,
Oh,
these would be
God,
great.
yeah.
And again, people do, what we like to remind people is it is water soluble. So when you're mixing it with something really, really sugary or really, really syrupy,
Okay.
you're going to have to, we provide shaker bottles with a lot of our first drops at stores around the area. So if you get in there and are early to buy during a new drop, or go in during one of our pop-ups or something, we may be giving away some of the just shaker bottles, branded High Five shaker bottles.
Yeah, that'd
yep.
be cool, like little shakers.
Yeah,
Is that what it- cool?
exactly.
Cool. That'd be cool. I'd be
Hell
down with
yeah.
that.
Can I move this?
Yeah,
Yeah, you're good.
Go for it.
Ice going.
With the Tide scoop.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a bleach scoop, guys. Stop.
Sorry,
I
sorry.
explained it to you already.
You don't have ice pods?
Thank you.
Look at that.
Oh, that's great. I mean, it's nice.
Hey, Adolphus Busch just made you a cocktail.
No, that's great. Congratulations. Cheers.
I know you're excited.
Cheers to the Stiribles.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers to the Stiribles. That's great. Nice.
Cheers.
Yeah, really don't taste it. You just taste the water.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not much of a taste at all.
And you can really just, you could, I guess, pace yourself. I mean, that's really what it's about.
Exactly.
Being able to take and say, hey, I feel, no, I'm going to do another one.
Yeah.
You know?
And how fast does this react? Is your
It depends on the person, but for me, with nanotechnology and just any sort of fast-acting edible, if it is true, nanotechnology, true emulsification, either using high-pressure emulsification or, ultrasonic emulsification, it's going to kick in 15 to
Okay,
30
so
minutes,
it's faster.
really, depending on
About
the
half
person.
the time, probably, of a standard distillate or something like that that's broken down.
Again, I would say maybe even less than that, maybe
Okay.
a third to a fourth of the time.
Wow.
For me, I can feel it, and I've done my fair share of R&D with just 5 milligrams, comparing it to like 5 milligrams in a gummy, for example, that's not nano.
Right.
You know, this product specifically, it kicks in, for me, I can start feeling it in about 15 minutes.
Okay.
And then it progressively gets stronger and stronger until you go, you get to about 30 minutes when it fully kicks in.
Right.
And it'll wear off just because it's, absorbing into your body so quickly and making it through your system faster. It'll wear off quite a bit quicker than, a true not nano or not fast acting edible will. Mm-hmm. So,
is this? I mean, there's not a lot of companies doing this, so I wonder about like the.
I don't think
so
there's any, right?
What
This
is
the
what,
only...
what is the time frame? So I know like a lot. Everybody's different. They always react to cannabis different when they consume it. But when they, what is the short? When you say shorter time span, you're like hour or 2 hours. I mean, what does that really mean?
Oh, as far as how long it lasts?
Yeah, the effects.
Yeah, for me, I would say that this lasts, anywhere between, depending on how much I take.
Yeah.
It could last 2 or 3 hours if I just consume a 5 milligram.
Oh, okay.
It could also last, 6 hours or so if I really consume quite a bit more, or if I'm drinking it over a period of time. That's the nice thing about this product, like you mentioned a little bit earlier. For someone who doesn't want to drink that night, or someone who is not drinking anymore or trying to quit drinking, you can use this as a substitute. What I tell people is it's kind of like you almost feel naked at a bar or, at home or a party or something like that when everyone else has a drink in their hand, but you don't, because you're not drinking booze or you're not drinking any sort of alcohol.
Right.
Just, I don't know, maybe you're taking a break, or maybe you are trying to, get off of alcohol. This is a great substitute for that.
Yeah.
And you're getting a buzz.
Yeah, exactly. And 5 milligrams is so nice because, if you have a really low tolerance, you can sip on that 5 milligrams for a while, and maybe you consume 10 milligrams throughout the entire night. If you have a higher tolerance, maybe you can consume 5 or 6 of them. You're drinking, if it's a healthy drink, you're drinking water, or you're drinking sparkling water like we are right now, and you can drink, 30, 40 milligrams throughout the night if you're just consistently consuming.
And the beauty of it is, unlike edibles, where you got to take, you take one and you wait 45 minutes for it to happen. And then you're like, I need to take another one. I'm not going to wait another. You know what I'm saying? You got to. So there's always kind of this game. With these, they're fast acting, so you're going to feel the effects quicker when you start using it, and that means you get allowed to dose yourself a little bit better, and can you continue dosing yourself a little bit better at that low dose. I like that. That's really cool.
Exactly. You can kind of stay on that perfect level easier, throughout the entire night or throughout the entire day whenever you're consuming. You can it's easier to stay on that consistent level.
Right.
Well, yeah, and the fact that it is hitting you so quick, you kind of know where
You know
you're
where
at.
you're
You
at.
can stop
Yeah.
or say, I want a little more.
Yeah.
Like, it hit me, but I won't, I'd like to feel a little more.
Yeah, like, I'm feeling it, 15
Yeah.
minutes or whatever. Yeah, that's really cool. That's a great product. Kind of reminds me of what we were talking about, the pot shot. We came up with that, having, it's like the 5 energy shot.
Yep.
Where it's all the registers, only it's a weed, and you can do small dose, but you do the high dose too. People just buy them, and they can have them or whatever. And same,
Exactly. And that's a great product too, that there's a lot of, at least they popped up for a short period of time, or still in the market out there, but it didn't take long after drinks hit the market for people to start doing those smaller, single shot type beverages.
Yeah. It all comes down to marketing.
Exactly.
It all comes down to marketing.
Yeah,
I
and
love marketing.
a very versatile product too, so it doesn't have to just be used for drinks. You can have a good, sit down dinner with some friends and be, just as an example, at a Mexican restaurant and put it into your salsa that everyone's dipping
wow.
of, or into your guacamole.
Yeah,
or
because
Really?
it's going to mix into there, yeah.
mix
Wow.
it into your, because it can be, you can dump it straight in your mouth if you want to, and I assume
Yeah.
a lot
Yeah.
of people do, but
Or snort it like somebody anonymously is going to do.
Oh, my God.
but yeah, that we try and encourage people to be creative with it too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, absolutely.
Could you imagine showing up at the Mexican restaurant like, hey, we're lighting this party up, and just
Yeah.
dose the salsa?
Exactly.
That's great.
Exactly.
That's a great idea. I never even thought of
Yeah,
that.
it's
kinda,
limitless on its use.
I mean, I think it's a
Put
social.
it on a steak.
Put it
I
in
think
your,
'cause you get-
in your syrup and put
Yeah.
that on your pancakes. I
Yeah.
mean, salad dressing. It's
The social, I mean, the social side of it is kind of cool in that way too. I think, I mean,
Yeah.
here instead of passing a joint around, you just toast the salsa. It's like the
gonna
new way to
change the puff,
consume
puff,
for
pass.
adults. Yeah,
Dip, pass.
yeah, dip, pass.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
That's awesome. So, real quick, what made you want to roll to this? Because I mean, you have so many other things going on with Teal. Was this kind of your main goal from the beginning? Have you been thinking about this product for a while?
Honestly,
being with Keith and everything else.
I've been thinking about it for a long time, but my main way to consume, the way I prefer to consume and always have, is by either smoking flower or, live resin vape pens. More now than ever in the past. I was mainly a flower guy and to a certain extent a concentrate guy for a while, especially when the Puffcos came out and it was so much easier to consume concentrates.
I have a seahorse
without a torch. Like it just easier to consume concentrates, I guess. And that was my main focus in the beginning, knowing that we wanted to start an edible company as well, and that we were getting product to market with our High Five brand pretty quickly right after Teal. That product, the Stiribles product line, that product has been in the product pipeline for a long time.
Yeah.
We didn't know what we were going to call it until maybe 6 months before we launched it. But there was a lot of brainstorming that went into that as well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
The
hilarious.
packaging looks great. I mean,
Well,
it's
thank you,
it's really pro. All your packaging does it. We were talking about Teal and the colors.
Hey, stop! Don't tell them, man. I don't want. I mean, because that's the thing. You can't tell people our secrets about what we know about the marketing and how some people are better at it than others. And I don't want because when we're right up there next to them, we're like, wow, those pre-rolls really stand out. The color looks really great. He's gonna be like, who is that? He's gonna be us. He's like, oh shit, you're blue. That's what I say. You're blue. I go every time I go in the store. That blue stands out. Everybody's black, white, black, white, black, white. I'm like, man, marketing. Think about color. Think about color.
Yep.
When you're marketing, and I told them, I said, Teal has it. They got it down because of the color.
Yep.
I go, when you go in there, I know when I got Teal pre-rolls, I can see right there, and I go, man, that's a thing. That's a thing in marketing.
It is,
Yeah.
for sure.
So
And that
Yeah.
stands out. It's slick. It's just right to the point. You see the high five. Like it's just,
Yeah.
looks good. Looks pro.
Yeah, well, thank you.
I mean, well, it's key.
we have an amazing marketing company that we work with in St. Louis, and it's a, to a certain extent, a closer relationship. We really like working with them, and they've become, a really important part of the Teal team, I would say, overall, just in helping us design our packaging and develop our brands. And obviously a lot of that background work, they took what I had on paper and ran with it and came up with something absolutely amazing.
Right.
And I've got to give some credit to an individual who did some work for us with High Five before that, and then this marketing company I'm talking about took what he had and just ran with it and just absolutely crushed it. And High Five is a very playful, very fun brand. And it's kind of funny. It's something worth mentioning because when we first launched our gummies, we have the clouds on the front of our packaging. Everyone thought it was popcorn. And which we almost played off of a little bit, like, oh, we're going to launch popcorn, and not actually. Maybe one day it will come out, but
At B&B.
that was funny, and there were always jokes about it, and people were talking about it, and I thought it almost worked to our advantage to a certain extent because maybe they do think it's popcorn, and just because they think it's popcorn, they all of a sudden ask about the brand,
Right.
and then they learn more about it,
Right.
and then
Right.
the Stiribles product. It's funny because when I got the name Stiribles from our marketing company and they presented that, I read it like Stiribles. I was like, oh yeah, Stiribles. A couple people in my facility, a couple people that work for Teal, were like, Stribles?
Right.
And I'm like,
Stribles.
and I'm like,
Stribles and bits.
Where the hell did you get Stribles? And I'm like, and then we keep laughing about it all the time because even some other people have come in and they were like, does that say Stribles? Or people will ask us about it. Why do you call it Stribles? It's like, wait, reread it. It's actually Stiribles.
I'm gonna start ordering Stiribles.
It doesn't look like Stribles at all. Like when you look at it, it says Stiribles.
We're probably going to come out with like a funny, clip of essentially saying like, this is how you pronounce it.
Had to the old
Say it with me now.
silhouette. Stiribles.
Yeah.
Stiribles.
You remember that from like Sesame Street or whatever it was?
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's great.
Or the electric company. Wasn't that what it was?
Yeah, electric company.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
What an exciting
We're
product.
old.
What an exciting product. And
Yeah,
like
that's
you said,
awesome.
there's so many uses for it. And we did talk about it earlier, but going into it a little bit more was really awesome. And I always want to say too, and I said this earlier, and I was going to repeat this, but we're talking about the pre-rolls. Your pre-rolls, to me, Teal's pre-rolls are the best. I was talking about the packaging earlier, but we were talking upstairs from, early in the days. I was smoking pre-rolls all the time. I go to the show, I'm going to have some pre-roll. They're always perfect. They smoke well. They don't run. They're not too tight. And I love them. And it's flour. It's not crap. It's actual flour. And so I've always been fond of Teals. Now, I smoke a ton of pre-rolls. I buy them all. I get them all. They give them to me, and I try everybody's, and I always shout out and give. But Teals consistently has been a great brand, a pre-roll, and you started telling me about the price. Like, whatever machine you're using, is awesome. And you're like, we don't use a machine. I was like, what? And so we started talking about that. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about, your process on these pre-rolls,
Absolutely. So I guess a little background in terms of just my experience with pre-rolls in the Colorado market, but then also with vape pens to a certain extent as well. More so vape pens when I was working for Keef Cola, and really started to understand the pre-roll process more from a quality control and quality assurance standpoint when I was up at Pure Greens after Keef Cola. But it was great. The majority of my expertise in cannabis before Missouri was 7 or 8 years in Colorado working for different companies, but the majority of that was spent in manufacturing and then sales. I was always doing sales for Keef Cola and Pure Greens after, my bud tender experience at Lightshade. And and I got to be hands-on quite a bit, especially at Pure Greens, just doing a lot of R&D and understanding the science behind it for both vape pen formulations as well as pre-rolls. Same thing with Keef Cola, because we had, I don't know if you guys know this, but out there, originally they made a full line of cartridges when cartridges first hit the market, like when O-Pen came out with their their first cartridges back in maybe, 2014 or 15, whenever they came out with the first wicked cartridges. And Keef had a brand called Oil Sticks back in those days, and they ended up turning it into Keef. So now they have cartridges and stuff like that out in the Colorado market under the Keef brand. But learned a lot about kind of the science behind it there, and they were running CO2. The owner's brother of Keef actually started IES, so that's a CO2 extraction company.
Okay.
So learned a lot about CO2 extraction. Then at Pure Greens, when I showed up, they were doing ethanol extraction, and then they were doing CO2 actually when I first started, using some MRX 20-liter machines, and then they moved to CAPNA ethanol extraction using CAPNA equipment, and then they bought a BHO company called Kayak, and they brought their operations into their lab out there. So then I got to start getting hands-on with BHO extraction.
Which one do you prefer out of it? Because obviously you have experience in all three.
I mean, if you're just trying to make distillate, you're running cryo inline ethanol, and you're essentially putting in material and it's spitting out decarbed distillate. But that's very large scale. You have to have a cultivation to do that. Otherwise, I don't think you can really. Some markets you could find enough material.
Right.
Not here, certainly. If you were going to do that type of extraction, I think you, for the most part, would almost need a cultivation at this point, from my experience buying cannabis in the market.
Just from what we've heard.
Yeah, so
it's low.
Yeah, CO2, although it's clean, it's kind of a thing that's fizzling out slowly, in my opinion, only because people don't sometimes like the taste of the final extract after it's been extracted via CO2. Ethanol is definitely most commonly used for creating distillate in high volume. Now we use our BHO setup to create crude, and then we use short path to make distillate.
That would be the path
in-house.
that we would use. Yeah.
Of course, we would love to have rolled or wiped film distillation setup right now, but we were buying wholesale distillate for a while when the prices were
reasonable.
Yeah.
So
they're not now.
And that's hurting the market a little bit. But
I think
it's got to be driving the prices up because it's more than doubled.
I think we started tracking it. It was at like 12,000 when we started tracking.
When I started tracking, it was like
8,000.
Yeah.
And
And
it's
then now
over
it's
20 now.
22. Last I heard was one
18
crazy
to
quote. I don't
22,
know if
yeah.
that's what it was, but 22,000. I was hearing a leader. I was like, woo.
You know, and this market is structured extremely well right now. And, there's a lot of really smart operators in this market. And I can tell you, there's some states that have really, really good flower, but we, as young of a market as we are, we have some of the most amazing products in the country right now.
Yeah.
I can tell you that with a lot of confidence, to be completely honest, from flower to extracts to pre-rolls to any sort of extract in vape form or solid form. Edibles, obviously, there's some big brands here already. But going back to your question about pre-rolls, I think, I had a lot of experience up at Pure Greens, behind, their pre-roll operations. And when I launched my brand, I started with a vape pen line, a disposable vape pen line. And then I ended up launching the 3-packs and the 7-packs of half-gram pre-rolls. And we were using knockboxes in the beginning.
Wow.
A knockbox is... When I say we don't use equipment, we use equipment to fill the cones full of flower.
Not like an automated machine.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Not fully automated.
Yeah.
We just haven't found something that makes a quality that we can make.
Wow.
So using a knockbox out in Colorado for the ABV brand for a long time, what I found with the knockboxes, love they're a great product, great company. I just find that they are a little bit rougher on the pre-rolls, the cones, and the flower material. And it gets a little messier, if you will, than the rocket boxes from STM Canna. So we use the rocket boxes.
Wow.
It's great. It's a standalone piece of equipment that holds 453 cones. So if you're rolling whole gram, pre-rolls, it's essentially taking a pound of cannabis when you're doing one rocket box run. And then half grams, obviously a half a pound. But we use that just to fill the cones full of flour and essentially get the pack of the cone down to where we would like it. The flour packed into the cone the way we like it. Now,
and
after
it
that,
seems to be perfect because that thing don't run.
But after that, I will tell you, our process is very labor intensive because if it's not packed perfectly, we fix it. The reason being is because we want every single pre-roll to be the exact same.
Yeah.
Like
you don't want a limp one.
Yep.
At the bottom, it didn't pack right.
So if we do have any limp ones, they're re-rolled.
Yeah.
I mean, they actually go into a bin called re-rolls, and they have to be re-rolled.
Yeah.
And everyone is on board with that. Our team knows that we have one of the highest quality pre-rolls in the market, and we do re-roll those pre-rolls because we're not putting those into packages. We don't have a cultivation, so that's a staple product for us.
Yeah.
We are not putting just leftovers into pre-rolls.
Right.
Not saying that any cultivator is doing that, but if it's sold for the right price, some people don't care. It's like, okay, if it's not the highest quality, I will just open it up and smoke that flower out of the bowl.
Yeah.
As opposed to smoking the pre-roll.
Yeah.
So we
I had never even thought of that for some reason.
What, like opening a pre-roll?
I never thought of that.
Oh, you want to smoke the pre-roll? That's why you lit the pre-roll.
Yeah, that's weird, but okay.
You don't have a pipe. You don't want to hold a pipe up. Like, pre-roll's easy. It's there. Like, here, smoke it. Like a cigarette.
Right. But, and you will see a little bit of a premium on our pre-rolls, but there's a reason for that. I'll tell you about that
because they're quality.
But exactly.
Yeah, they're good.
So after the grinding process, we'll do a sifting process, and we'll sift out the majority of the stems. We like to say we get 95% of all the stems out of there.
Yeah.
And then from there, we go into the rocket box rolling process. And then after that, we're taking every individual pre-roll out of that rocket box tray, and we're individually weighing it. And our variance is plus 0.03 grams. So it is 1 gram or up to 1.03 grams, but it's within that window every single time.
Wow.
And that's the same thing for our half gram cones, a plus 0.03 variance. So 0.5 to 0.53 grams in every half gram cone.
How long does it take to make that many pre-rolls?
Yeah. So right now we can roll about on the best day, we can roll about 2,000 pre-rolls in a day with an 8-person team.
Wow.
So that is not a lot.
Wow.
10,000.
I would have thought it was quicker than that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Especially if the material was like sifted and ready to go.
So
but
wait,
there's still a process of that vibration to really
eight-member team, and how many
So
pre-rolls?
that's about 250 people or 250 pre-rolls per day.
250 pre-rolls a day
person.
per person.
Yep.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're doing 400 and something at a time, but then you got some that are going out there.
Yeah.
Re-roll it. Wow.
And it's taken a while to get to that number too. Just
Oh,
with
I'm
our
sure,
process.
yeah.
Hey,
And
you
again,
know, the amazing thing about it is when you look at the packaging, you know it's a great pre-roll, but it's so consistent. It is so consistent. So
That's been
you're
one of
like,
your
it's
things since
gotta
the
be.
beginning. Every time you have a teal one here, you're like, it's my go-to. It's always good. Like, it's always right.
I'm like their brand ambassador. They don't even know it. Yeah.
I was expecting a check to change hands as much as he throws this shit out.
I know. I think that's incredible. I think that's incredible.
and then of course sourcing the material plays a big role too.
Yeah,
You know,
we talked about that before. You know, I mean, I'm
Because
sure
you
it's
use
hard.
nothing but
Flour.
premium flour.
only premium flour. So we'll buy, what we call popcorn, which is a smaller buds,
Yep.
or in a lot of cases we buy the A's and B buds,
Yeah.
the A buds and the B buds, and
And
know,
that's more expensive to purchase than like just buying biomass
Right.
or trim.
And
So,
I want to back up and talk about. I just want to mention one thing that you had mentioned about you just grind it and then you sift it. Okay.
Right.
So I want people to know, when it comes to pre rolls, you're talking about a 0.5 gram or 1 gram pre roll. If there's, most pre roll, and I don't know if they do it, but if the sifting ain't great, you're gonna get a lot of stems and crap in your pre roll, and it's the cost. The cost is higher for someone like Teal to do the sifting.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying.
it's-
It's because they're putting the quality top flour in there. They're not making up the difference with crap, And so I think that's important to point out, and I think that's what makes a consistent product for you guys.
Yep. And it's funny because we actually look at it similar to how we would look at extraction. It's like, what yield did we get out of that batch of pre-rolls? Because we may have gotten a 70% yield, meaning we may have had 30% of the starting weight all be sifted out in the form of stems and coarse material. Now we're not wasting that material. So we build that material up over time. And when we get to, 20, 30 pounds of it, then we'll run it through extraction simply for the production of distillate. So it does not go to waste, which is great.
That's great. Well, that's the beauty of the plan in the first place. Nothing has to go to waste.
I mean, if he's doing 2,000 pounds or 2,000 pre-rolls, you're talking 4 pounds a day into pre-rolls, roughly.
Yeah. So he's got to ride them prices. And they gotta,
great.
the prices have dropped. I'm buying it up as much as I can. Whenever there's, because with a manufacturing line, you're at the mercy of the cultivators, and you got to have good relationships with them and get good product,
Yeah,
So
Exactly.
that's awesome.
it's,
And
it's a
again,
tough game.
to give you guys an understanding of kind of where we've gone in pricing. Again, because it's been a very healthy market, there also have been, in terms of supply and demand, there's been a lot of changes, but that's as people get ramped up more, people start building out their cultivation, like square footage more, because most of these cultivators out there are not built out to 30,000 square feet, the majority of them. So once they do get online with more square footage, and we have more square footage across a state of flowering canopy, then there won't be these supply and demand issues.
Right.
So people are working their asses off right now, spending a lot of money making sure that they build out properly and they build out quickly, so we can get the product out there that people want. And for us, pricing in the beginning, we were buying pounds to roll our pre-rolls at $2,300 a pound. Now, when we were doing that, it cost us about $8.50 to roll a 1 gram pre-roll. So in the very beginning we were selling wholesale for $12 and they were retailing for $23.99. And that it costs us $8.50. So we had a $3
The profit
margin on that product.
That's
which
horrible.
Is nothing. Now we're buying flour again for $2,000 a pound. We went down as far as $850 a pound.
Yeah.
$700 to $850.
I remember that.
And that's for our material that's going into pre-rolls.
Popcorn.
So, exactly.
Yeah.
Popcorn, sometimes A's and B's. And that's what
Now, are the A's and B's more expensive than the popcorn?
they would be, but if for some reason someone had just an oversupply at the time in like a medical market when they had more than they could sell to dispensaries in that medical market,
Yeah.
we would get deals here and there
Negotiate.
that would be
They're
around
like, we're buying-
$850, $950 if we were buying for A buds, B buds.
Okay.
But most standard would be popcorn between $700 and $850. Now we're back up to $2,000 a pound.
Yeah, and that was the number that we had discussed. Yeah.
So our pre-rolls right now, again, are costing us about $8.20, $8 to $8.20 to make.
Yeah.
And then we're selling them for back up to $10.50 wholesale. So again, making about $2, about $2.20, somewhere
Right.
in
So,
there.
yeah, you're not making a
But-
ton
And
of
the
money.
dispensaries,
No,
the
not at
dispensaries want to try to keep the prices low for the consumer too. It really kind of puts a grind on everybody, you know,
Yeah.
especially when you got guys like me who's got I got 1 million reward points, you know. Like,
Well, and retail has the ability to pretty much always, if they can, mark up at a keystone markup. And the reason a lot of dispensaries do that across the board is because 280E, if you guys probably have been well educated on 280E at this point, but that is something that dispensaries get hit hardest with because they can't write anything out. They don't have as many cost of goods sold or really any at all like a manufacturer or cultivator would. Now 280E still really affects cultivators and manufacturers, like to the point where it will put you out of business if you don't operate properly. That's why a lot of people would tell us right now, why are you focusing so much on pre-rolls? Why are you rolling so many pre-rolls when you know they cost you so much to make? And at the end of the year, we're probably breaking even on that product
Right.
because we have to pay, 40% taxes on, our gross revenue.
Right.
Or it's essentially revenue minus cost of goods sold. We're paying 40% on that number.
Right.
So
40% on the $2 or $2.50 profit is what you're saying.
exactly.
Right.
Wow.
Essentially, yeah.
right.
So you're
Well,
basically making $1.25.
Yeah, and so
$1.40.
like Energizer, where I come from, consumer goods company. You know, you spread that cost throughout your portfolio too. You know, so I'm sure you're able to kind of at least spread that cost out to
Exactly.
your other brands and your other products to help. But because if you have a staple product like you do, you got to keep it, and you got to keep that name. Once it's been built.
We should probably be thanking you for continuing to do that for
kidding,
such a
man.
low
Yeah, well,
over.
yeah,
You know what
no
I mean?
kidding.
Because you don't have to do it, but
Right,
obviously they're
right.
quality and people.
I'll never
like 'em, so-
complain again.
Well, and we always talk about it. You nailed it with being able to spread it out. We have a little bit better. Our best margins would probably be on like high potency gummies because they don't cost as much to make, nearly as
Right.
much to make as a pre-roll would. So we can spread it out a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a product that we want to keep in market and would never take out of market because Teal has such a great name for pre-rolls, and it's one of those things that moves in high volume and gets our name out there a lot, creates a lot of brand awareness for us.
Yep.
So we love the product. We love making them, and it's just a great product.
Yeah, it really is. Well, tell us about the Teal name.
Yeah. So Teal is actually named after the green-winged teal duck.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, where our facility, is, I own the piece of land that the facility sits on. And it's right next to where my dad lives and our family farm. So he lives on the family farm that's been in the family since, I'm probably wrong on this, and he would probably correct me. But late 1800s, early 1900s.
Okay.
Bought by my grandfather or his father, but has been in the family for a very long time. That is all in the floodplain. So our facility
I know
and the
exactly
piece
where it
of
is.
our facility and the piece of land that our facility is on is outside of the floodplain.
Wow.
But it is right next to it. It's within probably less than a quarter mile.
Okay.
And the reason we called the company Teal is, one, I have obviously me and my family, and you can see that through my grandfather and past generations in terms of really loving animals, loving nature, loving preserving the outdoors. You can see that across
Bush wildlife.
all of,
Yeah.
exactly. SeaWorld,
Yeah.
Bush Wildlife, everything in St. Louis between Grant's Farm and all of the different pieces of land that my grandfather put a conservation easement on and turned into more of like a park for people.
Right.
That has always been something, and obviously all the animals in Anheuser-Busch,
Jeez. You can't
just
even-
marketing.
Right.
Yeah.
That has been something that has been, very important to, I think, every generation of my family.
That's great.
And
Yeah.
just whether it be environment.
Legacy.
Yeah.
I mean,
Bush wildlife in itself. I can't tell you how I grew up down. I grew up
fishing
over there
there
because it
and
was right by the house.
Yep.
So I grew up right around here. So it's right over there. That's why my dad was always dragging me there, and before daylight.
Yep.
Yeah. Loved it. I loved it.
Yeah. So that kind of was ingrained into me at a very young age, and just whether it be, just passion for animals and preserving the habitat for them, or just our environment in general, because obviously we're in a situation with our environment right now that a lot of people will tell you is not a good situation to be in at all. And I think every company needs to start realizing that. It needs to start operating more environment friendly, whether that, if we are lucky enough to get cultivation in the future, we would most likely build a hybrid greenhouse model, use solar power, use natural sources of energy as much as we could, just to reduce, one, it's great for the environment, and two, we're reducing costs for our business as well. So it's a win-win situation there.
Right.
In terms of the name, though, it is named after the green-winged teal. Our land, we do have some of the best land for duck hunting in that area.
Wow.
And
It's a club too, right? There's people that
no, it's not. It's called Bellow Farm.
Okay.
Bellow Farm.
And it's backed up. It's connected to Darden Duck Club, and Darden actually holds the most ducks during duck season and that specific time of year. Really between the months of September, when you see a lot of the teal migrating down, see a lot of the wood ducks coming down, all the way through March, I guess, is when they start working their way out and further down south. But throughout those 6 months, really focused mainly on November and December, we're seeing hundreds of thousands of ducks and geese in the area, all different breeds, obviously.
Wow.
And that Darden Duck Club, which again, we border Darden over there, they do the count in that area, the St. Peter's area, over the Darden Duck Club and their rest lake, because they house, I could be wrong on this too, but I know it's in the hundreds of thousands of ducks at any given time. Like on some of the best years when we have the most ducks in the area, 300 to 500,000 ducks sitting on their rest lake, and they can, so it's wild. When you see them get up over there, it is just like a wall of black. And because we border them, because we farm our property, we're traditional farmers, corn, wheat, and soybeans mainly. We do a lot of milo these days as well.
Mm-hmm.
We have half of our property is duck lakes, where we will, and we have a big rest lake as well, where we're leaving food for them. We're leaving flooded water so they can use that area to rest, use that area to feed as they're moving from Canada down to, Central America that time of year.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
And teal have always been very special to me. Ducks are in general, but teal are just small, fast flying, very interesting birds.
Perfect.
And,
beautiful too.
Perfect.
The color obviously works awesome on packaging.
Yes, we've talked about that. Yes.
And it's just something that means a lot to me.
Yeah.
And
It's a
That's
great
cool.
name. It's a great
That's
name. Nah,
awesome.
it's good to know that story
Yeah.
too. I'm
Oh,
glad
hell
I got to
yeah.
hear that story.
Hell
You
yeah.
know,
That
and
just
it brought me
gives a
back.
new-
I didn't even think about Busch Wildlife until he mentioned, like, holy crap, no kidding, that was your family. Oh my god, I mean, I grew up. I mean, and my dad always just say,
Busch Stadium.
"You're less than Busch Stadium, Teal Stadium."
Teal Stadium for the hacky sack tournament.
My dad used to say, you're not just a hunter, you're a conservationist, and
Exactly.
we and then growing up that way, and always taking and doing the classes at Busch Wildlife, and making fun of the range instructor and how strict he was, but you needed that. It's a gun range.
It was ingrained to me too from my father. Like,
Yeah.
as far as just conservation,
Right.
and I honestly believe that Missouri conservation is probably one of the
Best in the country.
absolutely.
I mean, they have been
Get out of
phenomenal.
town.
I mean, my dad was
Hands down.
They used to be one day to hunt deer,
Yeah.
whitetail back in like the '60s. Like there was one day. That
Oh,
was it.
does.
Now-
Does. Back in the day, you had to go into a drawing. You couldn't just
Yeah.
go get a doe tag. You had to get a drawing.
Now you can get like
Yeah.
fucking 50 of
Yeah.
them. Like, there's too many of
Yeah,
them.
because
Like,
you can't
overpop-
hunt.
yeah.
You can't hunt.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I always, especially naming a company after teal, because we're passionate about it. It means something to the
It does,
company,
yeah.
the size of the duck and how it moves, and it fits our business right now. I was only awarded the manufacturing license. We were awarded 3 manufacturing licenses. We were denied all 3 cultivation and all 5 dispensary, but having really one main manufacturing site right now and being a smaller company,
Yeah.
it also fits the size of the duck
size of
and
the
how it's
duck.
agile and can move quickly.
Yeah.
We're very similar to it in that regard as well. I would say it, hunting, I explain it the same way you did. Sometimes you'll say the wrong something around someone who is like, "Oh, you hunt? That's awful."
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's like, there's way more to it than that. It is the
Right.
whole conservation side
Conservation side of
Yep.
it.
as
Absolutely.
much as we take, we give back tenfold.
Right.
There's no question about
Right.
that. We use everything we take, and usually the same day. I mean, just having a great feast afterwards.
Yeah.
yeah, oh, absolutely.
Exactly. Every single time. So it's also a very, it's a very good time to socialize with friends and family and
Absolutely.
stuff like that.
Yeah, there's
And-
so much more to it.
Yeah,
than
and I
just,
mean, I
you're
eat
a
well.
killer, like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
No.
Well, there's a lot to it. I grew up that way. My grandparents had a farm,
Yeah,
the whole thing. So,
Same.
I think this has been a great show. I don't have any more mofo news.
That's all right.
This week because we keep drying it out. But I will say that DEA is discussing the legal status of minor cannabinoids like THCA and hydrogenated CBDs, right? So they're kind of looking at that kind of Delta stuff and what they can do to maybe reclassify. And I do know that's one story I'm following right now. So I'll give you guys some updates as I get more information on that. Adolphus, I've enjoyed having you on.
Yeah,
the
thank you
discussions
so
we've
much,
had.
man.
We've had such a fun conversation. It's gone by.
I know, like
man, I
super
can't
quick.
even-
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah,
It feels
felt
like just like 5 minutes.
It's been over an hour.
I know, right?
It seemed like it was like 20 minutes.
I know.
It was
Incredible
cool to get the
talking.
backstory.
Yeah,
You know?
and actually, when you know these new products you got coming out, you got the new ABV rebranding. Well, I'd like to have you
rebranding,
back
yeah.
on and talk
Yeah,
about
so
that.
You guys will love the rebranding, I think.
Yeah, sweet,
And it's
yeah.
going to be very close to St. Louis's heart. You know, when we think about Teal and everything we're doing at Teal Labs, just to give you one more rundown of that, it's Teal Labs is the name of our company. That is the facility because we were only awarded manufacturing, so we are Teal Labs.
Okay.
And then we have the Teal Cannabis brand, then the High Five Cannabis brand, and ABV. But we are a St. Louis company. Our entire company is 100% Missouri owned. Everyone's from St. Louis.
That's awesome.
Our
That's
just
killer.
a small group of people, and I say that it's a great group, very well educated in cannabis and in other markets, and I think the rebranding of ABV is going to be very close to St. Louis's heart in terms of what they've seen in the past in St. Louis.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Is it
we're
still going to
excited
be
about it.
called ABV though? I kind of like that. I think it's like badass. Like, hey, here's my pre rolls.
It's not, but
Here's the pre rolls.
I think you'll like it more.
Cool.
And we'll
Cool.
get some merch for you guys.
Yeah,
Oh,
cool.
sweet.
For
Hell
sure,
yeah.
for sure. We always love the merch around here.
Hell
so,
yeah.
well, that's our show, guys.
Good show, buddy.
Great show.
Way to go.
I would say, guys, you got to like, share, and comment for us. It helps us out, helps push our views.
Spotify. We're on Spotify.
We're on
now.
Spotify now.
Man, we're going to the big time.
Yeah, we're big
man.
time, and the next time now we're gonna have that Google Play or something like that. We're heading for the big time. So we're on Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Look for us, or you can go to our website. That's the central location for everything. www.tokingwithtopher.com. You guys, great show.